Here's another video game completion of 2025, this time Castlevania Aria of Sorrow. Believe it or not, this is the first Castlevania game I've ever completed. Yep, my first full playthrough. And honestly, I think a big reason for that is that Aria of Sorrow feels pretty easy compared to other Castlevania games, especially those brutal first 5 retro titles. Now, Castlevania Aria of Sorrow isn't like the typical retro Castlevania games. It takes more of an RPG approach, which, for me personally, since I'm not the biggest fan of RPGs, actually made it easier to get through, since you can level up both your character and weapons. And while I did enjoy Aria of Sorrow overall, I've got to say the story didn't really do much for me. I just didn't find it that compelling. The game isn't very long either. My total gameplay hours was about 9 hours, but I spent a good chunk of that, more than just a couple of hours, running around the map trying to farm those enemy souls with 0 success on some of them. Because of that, I didn't manage to get Aria of Sorrow to 100% completion, and I missed out on the true ending, as you can see on this capture video. Now, fun fact, Castlevania Aria of Sorrow was one of the final major releases for the Game Boy Advance, coming out in 2003, right near the end of the GBA's life cycle. This made it a bit of a swan song for the console, packing in impressive graphics and gameplay mechanics for its time. The game also introduced the Tactical Soul system, where players could collect and use abilities from defeated enemies, something that became a hallmark of the game and set it apart from earlier titles. Aria of Sorrow is widely regarded as one of the best entries in the Castlevania series, especially praised for its tight gameplay mechanics and innovative use of the Tactical Soul system. It received mostly positive reviews, with many players and critics pointing out how it improved on the formula from earlier GBA titles like Castlevania Circle of the Moon and Castlevania Harmony of Dissonance. The game was often hailed for its polished gameplay and engaging level design, though some did note that the difficulty might feel a bit easier compared to earlier titles, which could be seen as a positive for newcomers or those looking for a more relaxed experience. While Aria of Sorrow has RPG elements, it's not the first Castlevania to incorporate them. The Castlevania series started to introduce RPG-like mechanics with Castlevania II: Simon's Quest, where players could level up and find items, though it was much more rudimentary, if my memory serves me right. Castlevania Symphony of the Night, which is often considered the blueprint for later titles, took a deeper dive into RPG elements with exploration and character stats. And Aria of Sorrow continues that tradition with the Tactical Soul system and the ability to level up. Compared to earlier Castlevania games, Aria of Sorrow offers more streamlined experience with less emphasis on the punishing difficulty found in earlier NES and SNES titles. It strikes a balance between RPG elements in the traditional Castlevania action platformer, making it accessible to both fans of the series and newcomers.